Hi
Hi
everyone.
everyone.
Kia ora, everyone.
Hello.
Everyone.
Mental wellness to me is that you are free in your space, and in within that community, whatever that community may be to express your feelings, to feel happy, to feel sad, because it isn't all roses. It isn't all happy times. There are lots of times that I was presented with injury, or I was presented with kind of not playing because of someone playing better than me. And when that's your life and your world and everything you work for, that's tough. When you're losing on the pitch as a team and you're not gelling as a team, or something's going wrong. So mental wellness to me is being able to express myself, to be myself, and whatever emotional state that takes. Not every day is a good day, and that's also okay. But the beauty that we had at Tottenham was that this people say that, but when I tell people this, they think I'm crazy, but I had a second family. So I'd have my family at home, but then I'd also have a second family. And the beauty of having that second family is that you've got 22, 23 other girls with all different personalities. And that to me was the absolute beauty of having a second family, as I call it, or a community of people to help me.
To me personally, I grew up in this environment where everyone around me was playing sport. My dad was a professional footballer playing for the Socceroos. My mum used to coach people in swimming and basketball as well. And that was kind of expected of me as well, growing up, playing in competitive sports. But from a young age, I was suffering from depression and couldn't really come to terms with it. And everyone that I had around me at that point in time kind of just dismissed it or pushed aside, saying, "Oh, you're just a little bit sad. Go outside, go for a run, you'll be fine." Or even the very stereotypical, men don't cry. Go, you shouldn't be feeling this way. And it wasn't until I was working in Australia and working with the Oceanic Pro League commentating team for League of Legends, where I actually opened up to one of my co-on-air presenters, and he sat me down and said, "Look, that's a perfectly reasonable way to feel. It's completely normal. What can I do to help you?" And it was the first time I truly heard that from somebody, and just hearing that alone made me feel so much better. And from then onwards, I was able to take a path where I was able to seek therapy, and I was happy talking about my experience, and I was more content with the way I felt and didn't feel like I was an outcast anymore, just because I had people that were around me that were saying, "You know what, that's perfectly fine, man. We will support you no matter what, and how you feel is completely reasonable, and we're there for you if you need anything." That enough was alone. And then I really realized how important it is to have that support network and that community that's behind you, who always has your back and is just there to listen and let you know that it's okay.
Shannon, before you were speaking about how you had two families. You had your family and then you had your community with sport. And that's how so many people feel with sport, and especially in Australia, it's a religion to some people. But the really harsh reality is that almost 50% of LGBTIQ plus people, especially males, intentionally exclude themselves from male team dominated sports because they don't feel welcome. That to me is just absolutely harrowing, and a lot of especially gay and bi males as well intentionally exclude themselves because they don't feel welcome, and that's because of the intentional and unintentional language that happens. The kind of casual normalization of homophobia is still absolutely rife, and at the end of the day, that's someone's place of safety. That's someone's workspace when you get to an elite level. And I find that really sad to think that people are literally removing themselves from a space because they don't feel like they can be their authentic selves. And speaking about mental health within the community, just as a whole, the LGBTIQ plus community is 4 to 5 times more likely than the straight community to take their own lives. 14% more likely to attempt suicide. That usually happens around the age of 16. With 50% of the trans community attempting suicide at least once in their lives. So not only am I incredibly passionate about this, but it's also backed up by research.
I would say that the last 4 to 5 years is where mental health has become a large topic within the gaming sphere. Before that, it was something that just was never talked about. It's a predominantly male activity, and has been for a very long time. And a lot of guys that play the games just don't talk about their mental health, and they don't share that information. I would say, however, over the last 4 to 5 years, more and more people have started speaking up, and we have seen a lot of large campaigns from either video game companies or even some of the competitive esports leagues. In Australia, there was the Oceanic Pro League, which joined forces with Headspace to create an entire round of their league, which would become the Headspace round. And the entire idea was to use that weekend to promote mental health awareness. They got together a bunch of athletes to talk about their struggles with mental health and to share different pieces of information, as well as where people can find the resources to try and improve. And I think through campaigns like the OPL and Headspace collaboration, we are starting to see more gamers within the communities be more comfortable talking about it with their friends. Even if they're not necessarily struggling, they're more than happy to engage in those conversations and to make sure that their friends feel okay and make sure that they start to feel a bit more comfortable with the people that they're playing their games with. So it's been really uplifting to see that just within the gaming communities itself, we're seeing more and more activism and more people being more accepting.
So Angie made an amazing point with regards to kind of men and speaking out, and that's just one area of kind of a lot of mental health battles. And I think there is a stigma. Men are supposed to be okay, and you use terminology like man up, and that's what is there to be broken, because male mental health is just as important as female mental health, and putting it kind of out there that it's okay. It's breaking stigmas that it's not okay to be okay, and it's absolutely fine, especially given the pandemic, especially given the current situation that people have battled probably more so with their mental health, to speak out, to reach out, to know that there's communities, there's people that will listen, and there's also professional help that's available. So it's signposting people as well. Sometimes people might not know where to start. Everyone presents mental health in different ways. Some may, kind of withdraw from a group. Some may be over chatty. Some, may get into something to use it as a distraction technique. And I work with predominantly boys, and they might call me the mum of the group sometimes. It's also about making sure for them that they are okay on every level. Like, boys, are you all right? And for us, sometimes it's let's go for a workout, or let's go for a coffee, or let's go and do something, and when we work away from home, that's tough. And men are impacted the same as women are impacted. They miss their families, they miss their friends, and that's okay. It's okay to have them feelings and emotions.
I really liked what you said about everyone deals with mental health very differently as well, particularly when you said people find escape, because I remember video games being my escape. Because I was always from that sporting background. Dad's like, go and play football. Mum says, go and swim. But video games was my escape, and finding that community just to have a hobby that allowed me to escape was fantastic. And then the community that actually supported me through that was fantastic as well. And I know my dad used to speak quite a lot about how football was his escape, and that would be his way to decompress. At the time of founding the academy, he was becoming a very strong advocate for mental health, because he was known as the tough as nails defender that nobody could mess with. But then he never spoke about his own struggles, which he had kept bottled up for 20, 30 years. And finally, through the last few years of his life, he started talking about it. Like, people know that, things are okay. And I think it's really important that when people find these healthy ways to escape, that they're also supported when they do so they can not only find something to distract themselves, but then get better at the same time. When we took over the academy, we wanted to make sure we built a community of footballers of all ages. So the youngest kids that we have are 1.5 years old. They just love to run around. They'll throw the ball everywhere. And it's more just about having fun and exercising. And then we have a very serious youth squad that competes in some of the local competitions. And then we even have a group of adults that play, once or twice a week just for fun. And what we really want to spread is that community vibe. We want it not to be somewhere that you're going to just kick a ball around for an hour. We want this to be part of your life and a community that you can really rely on. And we want to just keep pushing that message forward so we can find as many footballers in Singapore to join this community and make it even bigger and bigger.
Really small things that people can do, because it is up to every single individual to create a safe and welcoming space. It's our responsibility. If you hear or see something that is bigotry or discriminatory, call it out if you feel safe. We have seen through our research and just through kind of common sense that, when you allow certain behaviour and language to happen, it can be perceived as the same as condoning it. Just two takeaways that I would love to share that can make it really easy to be really inclusive and welcoming is things like presentations. If you're someone that presents to a massive group, it's very common to say, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." When we do that and use very gender-specific terms, it can eliminate the non-binary and gender diverse and trans community. So doing something as simple and as easy as "Good morning, everyone," it includes everyone. And also, I would also just say, never ever assume that you know how someone identifies or their sexuality. I remember it so clearly in 2017, a complete burnout, a complete breakdown, and I went to a place that I had never been to before, mentally, emotionally, physically. And I promised myself that if I was to get out of this, I've got to put things in place where I do not get back there. So what I would say is prevention, or like prevention techniques. And what Shannon was saying is gratitude is something that I have also kind of really learnt or started practicing come March this year. And at night time, I write 3 things that I'm grateful for at the end of the day. And research has even shown that it scientifically changes your brain into how you perceive the world. It's really, really interesting. But I realized again pretty quickly that unless I'm well, I can't be a benefit to anyone else. So the things that I was speaking about, meditation, gratitude. And so when times are getting quite tough, I know it might seem like a pretty trivial thing, but, using our social media platforms to just continuously send out love and positivity and be able to give people resources if they do need to speak to someone or connect with a group, whether that be face-to-face when we can or virtually. So they very much know that they're not alone. Being in the closet, if you will, can be an incredibly isolating space to begin with. But then when you are actually isolated, how that is emphasised is it can be paramount. So resources and, again, community groups, because at the end of the day, when you feel respected and you feel like you belong, you are healthier.
I loved what Angie says about gratitude, feeling appreciated. If you feel appreciated, if you feel listened to, if you feel respected, and these are all 10 concepts that are crucial to feeling good, you give so much more than you ever humanly think is possible if you get given that. So that's really important, I think, in team situations to give that respect. Now, what I do post my rugby career, a few years ago, my family and I started a community food kitchen. We call it Eddie's Meals. We started it really, we do it once a month just to share our blessings with the community, but also to support and bring the community together. We put on occasions, and food kitchens are the same all around the world, but they're a vital part of what we do to bring people together, to look after people, to give people something to look to plan for, which for me is important to have some structure and planning in place. And some of the people that come along look forward to it like they used to look forward to the old community dance. For you to give to others, that firstly you look after yourself. If you look after yourself first and foremost, look after your own health and well-being, your own focal points, you then can give.
I really like what Ian said about kind of when you're kind of mental well-being, like the impact of exercise and being out in nature and having fun. I think these are basic, your kind of foundations really, again, I think for mental well-being. I mean, I know what I'm like. If I go outside, I exercise, and everyone's exercise regimes are different. It doesn't have to be a 50-kilometer run. It can be a walk around the park with your dog or your best friend, having a coffee and a chat. That is the social element, it's the exercise element. or if it can be a bottle of water, whatever it might be. So I think you can't ever underestimate that. So Ian, I think it's a great point.
One thing I like to leave everyone with is a quote from one of my colleagues in Australia. His name is Stephen Yuki. He used to always just say, everyone has problems. It's universal. And I really love what Angie has been talking about this entire time, which is you don't know the struggles people are going through, and you need to make sure that you are taking into account the possibilities of the people you're talking to having problems and dealing with difficult times. Always keep that in mind throughout your day, and then it will make it much easier for people who have problems and want to speak up about it. Have that safe space where they can feel not only included, but feel like they have a community they can rely on. And we all have that part to play in whatever community you're in to make sure people feel safe and feel comfortable.
I think that one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that every single person I know, whether I thought they were the most resilient people or the most vulnerable, everyone has spoken about mental health. I think it's really been normalized through the pandemic because everyone's experiencing something. So if there's a positive of the pandemic, for me personally, I've seen a lot more kind of like normalization around mental health, which is very needed. I just want to say that an old dog can learn new tricks through awareness and education. I'm really proud to say that, my dad is a reformed homophobe. He always used that language and behaviour. And my middle brother is gay and is one of those people in the statistics who removed himself from male team-dominated sports. My dad has said publicly and also in private that his biggest regret in football and in society is not knowing how many people he hurt along the way because of his language. So just echoing what Matthew was just saying, then you don't always know who's around. You don't know how people identify. You don't know what people are going through. And so I just want to really leave it because I don't know who's listening. I just want to say be very proud of who you are and be who you are unapologetically.
There is always light at the end of the tunnel. I love it when the sun comes out the next morning because that's the start of a new day, a start of a new opportunity. And I just really want people, firstly, to look after themselves so they can then look after others. Please do really look after yourselves, your own mental health and well-being, your own fitness requirements first, and then you can give so much more. Have the gratitude of every day and just have a think about, are my buckets full? Am I in balance? Am I in sync with the world? And if you are, you're going to have a great day. We're all going to get through this pandemic together. We're all going to come out the other end healthier, fitter, stronger, faster, mentally more prepared so we can all live healthier, longer, better lives. Ngā mihi. Thank you very much. Take care.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.